guys, welcome to yet another episode of Out With It. Since we're transitioning from our first and second series, Women with Impact, and artists from around the world, this episode seems as the perfect culmination of a few topics we've touched over. Presenting to you today somebody who is not just in the field of creatives, but also a co-founder of her company, RN Talent. She founded this in 2024, so it's only been a year, and here we are to catch her journey on how to make your dream a reality. Presenting to you, Jerne Ward.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad we're doing this because I think a lot of people don't know this, but we live together.
Yes, we do.
Yes, and we have been since the past 2 years.
Yeah,
so
three almost,
exactly. So I've seen the journey of how the company has evolved from the very starting phase to now.
Yeah.
But before we go more into the company, I want to start with the segment called Out With It in 5 seconds to kind of shift the episode format a little bit. Okay, so the first one, so all you have to do is answer within 5 seconds, whatever pops in your head.
Perfect.
Great. So the first one is, if you were to give human attributes to your company, how would you describe this in 3 words?
Oh my God. Okay. I would say personable, worldly, and creative.
Okay, I love that.
Do you want me to elaborate on them, or
you could? Yes.
Okay, I'll do a quick elaboration. So we are like a small talent management agency, so we try to bring a lot of one-on-one connection within our RN community. So a lot of we treat our relationship with all of our creators very personally, and also try to kind of connect them within each other. Worldly, because we're a global agency, so we have clients in the US, in South Korea, in Vietnam, in the UK, and in Germany, and in Canada.
Oh, wow.
So very international, and we also work with brands in all of those regions and more. And then, what was the last one? Creative. I mean, we are an influencer agency, so.
Of course. Yeah. That is part of it.
Yeah.
Lovely. Okay. The second one I'd ask is, what is your one activity that you do when you're trying to calm yourself, or it's kind of like your off day?
I would say I like to... I'm very into mindfulness, so I really like to do yoga, and meditate. I know those are kind of the basic answers, but I really do enjoy doing that. And then also going to the gym. I try to go to the gym 4 to 5 times a week. So just whenever my mind gets too flustered, I think it's good to just either meditate, calm the mind, or do things with your body to take away some of the pressure mentally. So
okay, that's lovely.
Yeah.
And I also know, because you do always try to do something good and learn something even when you're on your off time, which I think is a very good quality, because I think I would just be watching TV. But that's good. Lastly, I'd want to ask you, if you were to move anywhere right now, since your agency is also global, where would you want to move and why?
That's a really good question. Honestly, my answer is not going to be tied to the business. I just have always wanted to move here, and you already know this, but I've always wanted to move to Spain, and I really love Spain. I'm a very warm weather person, so that's part of the reason. I speak Spanish, so that's another part of the reason, and I just have always really loved Spain. I would love to move there. I'd still be close to, some of my clients that are in Germany and the UK, for example. And I think Spain is a relevant, obviously a relevant country within the business world. So that's maybe where I would move, but I don't think that it would be directly beneficial to my agency, at least not at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, no, because I do remember you mentioning you wanted to be a
digital nomad.
Yeah. But
I still do.
You still do. And I think that ties into it, right?
Yeah.
Why not try more European clients at that point?
Right, exactly.
You can expand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. But where in Spain specifically?
That's the question. I would say either Madrid or Barcelona. I think those are from just what I know and what I've heard and what people have told me, those are the most international areas. And so I think I'd probably want to be in a place that's a little bit more international, although still like capturing some of the culture. So
okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, now talking more about your company.
Okay.
So you're a senior in college.
Yes.
How does that play into also doing entrepreneurship on the side?
Yeah.
And then basically knowing that this is going to be your bread and butter. Because you started on quite early.
Yeah, I mean, so I started the company in April of 2024. I mean, I really started working on it maybe January of 2024, but we didn't officially found the company till April.
Yeah.
So that was like kind of end of our junior year. And then at first it was kind of like, okay, let me try this out, see how it goes. And I was still, you know, I had a summer internship last year. I worked at like an international tourism marketing agency, which is kind of, but not really related to my, to RN Talent. And I was just kind of seeing how it went. And then I think maybe 3-4 months ago, I realized that we were growing at a point where I could make this my full-time job. We were at 5 clients in August of 2024. So April to August, which, I don't know, 4 months, we had only gotten to 5 clients. But then come December and now, early February, we're at 20 clients. We've had like a really quick growth recently and have also been able to work with some really cool brands, some high-level contracts. And so it started to become like more serious. But definitely right now, it's like, I don't know, it's kind of annoying to be still in school because like we're at a point where we're done with most of the classes that we need to take already, you know, like we're on our last semester. So I'm just kind of taking those last couple classes. Yeah. We're writing a senior thesis, although that I'm actually have tied into my my agency. I'm writing about like luxury fashion and influencer marketing. But it's just like very difficult, I think, now to find a work-life balance between, you know, school and the agency and the thesis, and then like still taking advantage of being in college, in university, and like finishing up my year. I don't want to, you know, just be inside the whole time. So
and you don't want to miss out.
Exactly.
Obviously.
Yeah. I don't want to like, you know, just take advantage of this time or not take advantage of this time. So it's been challenging, but I'm happy to be at a point where I have something waiting for me after I graduate that is something I want to do, something that I can kind of set the tone on how much money I can make, how much growth we can, you know, achieve. I don't have to rely on the horrendous job market. And I can travel. Like, I'm not going to be tied down to, you know, being in one place, which is, like, I think impossible unless you are an entrepreneur at our age, especially unless you're an entrepreneur of, like, a tech-esque or, you know, like a virtual company, which I think everyone our age kind of is because, like, how are we going to, you know, I was listening to a podcast of, like, this guy who founded, like, an oil trading company in, like, 1950 at 23. I was like, that's something that's genuinely not possible in today's day and age.
No. Even if it is, I think at the end of the day, the collaboration between brick and mortar and digital is kind of
It's very intertwined.
You have to have it.
Yeah.
But you touched on a lot of points.
Yeah.
So let me break it down a little bit.
Yeah.
First, I want to say, do you think that this entire process of starting the company and also getting so many clients played a role because you're from California? Or would it have been different if you weren't studying here? I mean, you were in Milan, technically.
Yeah, I was in Milan when we founded the agency.
Yeah.
I would say yes and no. No, being based in California was not instrumental at that time with founding the agency because, like I said, a lot of our clients aren't are international, and actually we only have 2 based in California right now. So it's not like a lot of my clients are here. Yeah. But there is value now that I'm back of the influencer network. Obviously, LA is like a hub for influencers, LA and New York, really. And so there is a lot of events and things and people that I meet within, like, we call the influencer space kind of like the creator economy. That's what like the business side of it's called. So a lot of people within the creator economy that I've been able to meet and connect with that if I was not in LA, I would not have been able to. But in terms of founding the business, no, I don't think it was instrumental. However, I grew up in San Diego, and we were at USC in LA when we were freshmen, and that was like my introduction to the influencer space. And I think that I wouldn't have started this agency at all without that year because, first of all, at USC, there's influencers everywhere, and in LA, there's influencers everywhere. So I just naturally became friends with people that were influencers or celebrities or whatever, just because, like, they're everywhere.
This is the network.
Yeah,
at the
exactly.
End of the day. The friends you make here are those type of people.
Exactly, yeah. So that was one part of it. And then also, when I was a freshman, even my first semester, I started an internship with Cider, which was like fashion brand, like fast fashion, but pretty popular. And I worked for them doing influencer events. And that was my first ever like real internship. And I did events in LA. I met a bunch of influencers through those events, obviously, because I was inviting them and we were running the events. And I just started to get familiar with the space. And then I was working on that internship for about a year. It was like a really long internship where first half was like events, second half was more like digital marketing. So I was running campaigns. I was helping out with photo shoots. I was actually behind the scenes like reaching out to influencers. So that kind of familiarized me with the whole process that is necessary behind influencer marketing, but from like a brand perspective. Yeah. And so I think without that internship, which I wouldn't have gotten unless I was in LA because the events were in LA, I wouldn't have started the agency because, like, you know, that was my introduction. Yeah. So.
No, also you found your co-founder
and
there.
My co-founder.
That was the main part. I was like, you are not touching on that. But
yes,
no,
my co-founder hired me for that internship. My co-founder is a few years older than me, so she hired me for my first internship, and that is how we met. So that's true.
But I love that because I think a lot of people our age, even if they have an idea, the fear of trying to start it and also battling between, do I want to do a job or do I really want to take the risk of starting something new? Yeah. At this age is really tough. Yeah. But then again, I do believe that this is the only age you can take that risk and 100%. Still bounce back in the market.
100%.
And especially touching on one specific thing you mentioned about growing clients by a very few number initially, but then having a massive jump. Yeah. I think a lot of businesses face that, the chicken and egg issue. Yeah. Where they're like, oh, okay, but I have this many influencers, but I don't have enough brands. Or how should I get either sides to join my platform? What's the need?
What's the benefit?
Exactly. Yeah. So I do want to know how you got across that. Like, how did you get over that chicken and egg, basically, for your agency?
Yeah, it's a very interesting, like, dilemma, and one that I will, like, talk about from time to time because, I mean, obviously you knew me the whole time, and it was kind of starting out, and honestly still, at this exact moment, most people don't know about my agency because I don't tell people, and I think I've gotten to a point now where I'm starting to tell people because I think we finally overcome that chicken and egg problem. It took a long time.
Of course.
But, yeah, we start out. We're like, okay, we're an influencer agency, but we have no influencers or brands. So then it's like, okay, how do we get the influencers? And so we run into this problem of, okay, we reach out to influencers. So it was a lot of email outreach. And then they're like, yeah, what kind of brands do you work with? And it's like, oh, we don't work with any brands because we don't have any like clients. And we reach out to brands and they're like, yeah, send me your like roster. And I'm like, oh, we don't have a roster because we don't have any clients. So that was an initial issue, and how we solved it was a couple of, like, unique ways. One was I used my university alumni network, and that's also one of the benefits of when you're in college, you can reach out to people that can help you that wouldn't be able to help you if you were, like, a 30-year-old, like, trying to start, like, nobody's, respectfully. And I'm being in the WBB program. I'm in the World Bachelor in Business program with Kea, so we do international studies in different universities. So instead of just University of Southern California, I could actually tap into the networks of USC, of HQST, our university in Hong Kong, and of Bocconi University. And so that gave me a wider reach. And so I was able to specifically, like grunt work, find a company, go on LinkedIn, see if there's anyone who works at that company within the marketing or influencer marketing space, reach out to them, say, hey, I'm a USC alumni. I'm starting this agency. I'm currently working on gathering a client list. I would really, really love to stay in contact with you. And in a month or two, once I have some influencers, I will send them your way. And I got some people that were like, yeah, you know, like, best of luck. I look forward to, you know, hearing from you. And so that's where we got our first brand connections that we could morally and truthfully say, like, we're actually connected to. Because you could always lie when you start out and say, like, yeah, we have connection at X. But, like, if you don't, and then, you know, the influencer is waiting for you to tap into that connection that you don't have, it's not going to work out in the long term. So that's how we solved the brand side. So then we were able to reach out to some clients using those brand connections. And another thing we did was my co-founder, Tamsin, she's Chinese. And so she told me about Xiaohongshu, which is now known as RedNote. It became very popular after the TikTok ban because...
I think this is a very interesting conversation to have at this point of time.
Exactly, yeah. So TikTok ban was like, what, a couple weeks ago? The supposed TikTok ban that didn't happen. And so, so we started out advertising as, okay, we have these couple of brand clients and we can help you get onto Xiaohongshu. And so we got our first couple clients that way with that kind of perspective of, you know, we can help you out getting into this platform. And RedNote in particular is a very strategically complicated platform because one, it's hard to navigate if you don't speak Mandarin. Yeah. And two, it's not as simple cut as TikTok where or Instagram where you can post things and like you go viral. It takes a lot more work and it takes a lot more strategy. So we reached out to, and actually our first client was already like a huge mega influencer, and I think she was very instrumental to our growth as well. So on to Queen, if you're watching this, shout out.
Shout out.
And still, she's one of our clients, and I really, really enjoy working with her. But she was our first client because she was interested in working on Xiaohongshu. And to give people perspective, like she has a combined following of around maybe 3.5 million on across Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and now Xiaohongshu. Yeah. So we helped her out getting onto that app, and we were able to position ourselves reaching out to clients that way. And so that's how we got our first few clients. And interestingly enough, I'll tie this in to where we are currently. Our first few clients were mostly Asian because for example, she's Vietnamese, she's not Chinese, but she's very interested in working in like the Chinese market. And so a lot of our first few clients were Asian, just like not from China, because if they were, they could just, you know, join Xiaohongshu. Exactly. But they were interested in it, and they felt they could become famous on it. So in that sense, we've grown into having a very, like, most of our clientele is Asian, not necessarily from Asia, but we do have some, like, Asian Americans as well. Like, one of our clients is from Germany, but she's ethnically Chinese, and then, like, Canadian Canadian Chinese as well. So variety of like Asian clients. We do also have other, you know, like we have some other ethnically diverse clients, but that was like a main way we started out. And then through word of mouth, it kind of just so happened that we were able to develop that roster, which isn't, you know, I don't feel positively or negatively about that at all. It's just kind of like interesting to see looking back how that ended up playing out. Yeah.
No, it's a very, very, I think the journey I would simply say is one, you need to have a lot of discipline to be able to do this on a regular basis and keep reaching out. Yeah. I think that requires a lot of effort. Yeah. And second, I do believe that even when you have one or two clients, it's very easy to get in that mind frame of, oh, okay, I'm kind of successful where I have, and now you kind of slow down a little bit. So I think both that combination is really important when you're starting off. Yeah. Because a lot of times people think, like you mentioned, it gives you flexibility to move anywhere. Yeah. It also brings along that complacency of, yes, I have my business, I can do whatever and chill. But I think people don't realize it requires more personal effort and time than I think a job would. Because you're not off 100%. At any time. I see you working at 3 a.m. Yeah.
I mean, well, it's also because I have school, so...
That's true. Yeah. But still, it's like, it's the discipline, I would say, for sure. But also touching on Xiaohongshu and RedNote a little bit. Yeah. Do you believe that after the TikTok ban, it has increased, not just in terms of Asians, but also Americans that have gotten on it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's become a more global global platform, and actually we are like official partners of Xiaohongshu. So like my co-founder is, you know, like I'm in a WeChat group chat with their team, and my co-founder is always connecting with them, messaging them. We have had clients visit their office. We actually have one of our clients visiting their office in a couple of weeks. And they have told us, like, RedNote is actually a new trademark. They completely remade the app once the TikTok ban happened because of so many Americans getting on, and because it's such a strategically difficult platform, because there was a lot of guidelines, community guidelines, and kind of like terms, conditions, limitations that were in line with the Chinese government and what they require on social media. And they're a little bit more strict than the government here in the U.S. And so they were, when the TikTok ban happened, there was an influx of people. There was a lot of kind of like, limitations. People got kind of kicked out, or, something happened where it was like, hey, you can't be saying that on here. We're an app where we don't do that here, and so the team had to scramble and say, okay, we're going to create Red Note. And Red Note is like, a little different. It's for the international people. They have features on there where they can actually like translate their video text. So people can have the English and the Chinese, and you don't have to speak Mandarin the same way. But it's still strategically different. So actually, one of the main things we've been kind of like taking advantage of right now is we've reached a point where we have a good range of client list. So in the creator economy, you can like consider micro influencers all the way to mega influencers. And so that will, depend on your follower range. And we're at a point where we need to start getting a bit more mega influencers, because we do have a good amount of like macro, think like 100K to like 800K, something like that, clients, but not too many that are like 1 million plus, for example. And so that's where we're trying to enter into that space a bit more. We're actually using Xiaohongshu as our advantage, saying like, hey, we're a US-based agency, but we're a Xiaohongshu partner. We can support you on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, but we can also support you on Xiaohongshu. And that has been able to capture the interest of some clients that we haven't been like able to kind of intrigue before, because they never heard of Red Note. So they were like, I don't care
about it.
I don't care about your connection with Xiaohongshu. But now they're like, oh, I've heard of that. I actually might want to get on to, especially if they're TikTok influencers.
And of course, I think it also gives them opening into a broader range of a market.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. Because like TikTok is banned in India, for example.
It can get banned at any time.
And it is banned in a lot of other countries. But I think obviously Red Note has picked up on that advantage. Secondly, I think brands that, I don't know which brands you specifically work with, but we'll get into that. But specifically, are there any brands that would prefer to work on Red Note versus TikTok?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's different brands that reach out for different platforms. Right now, we have a few clients on Red Note, but our biggest client, and this is actually interesting, so she was already on Red Note before the TikTok ban, like a day before. She had 9,000 followers on Red Note. She's the German-Chinese girl. And so as soon as the ban hit and we saw people going to Red Note, Tamsin in particular, and we also have like an intern who is like, specifically supports with Red Note, Xiaohongshu. They were like, you need to start posting, you need to start taking advantage of this right now. She has a platform on Instagram as well, but her biggest platform is on TikTok. She's at almost about 300,000 on TikTok, whereas Instagram, she's at maybe 150,000. So they were like, start spamming Red Note. And this was 2 weeks ago. She's at 150,000 on Red Note now.
That's a huge jump.
Huge jump. And she's from Germany, but she went home for the Spring Festival, Chinese New Year, to China. Not home. I mean, her parents are from China. She grew up in Germany. She went, back to the motherland, as they say, to spend the time there. She's on her break. She's in university. So she's there now, and we'll be going to, she's actually in Seoul right now in South Korea, but she's in China. She'll be going to Shanghai. She'll be going to like Suzhou, a bunch of different key cities in China. And now she's actually able to do so many brand visits, brand collaborations.
With hotels
she's
and
meeting
stuff
with,
also, no?
even with hotels. She's meeting with the Xiaohongshu team. We're setting her up to go visit XYZ brands in person, because she has this platform on Xiaohongshu now. So I kind of forgot what my original point was supposed to be here, though. Like, what did you ask me?
I asked if certain brands want to work specifically with Xiaohongshu.
Okay, I didn't even answer that question.
That's okay. But that kind of answers it. Like, hotels in China would want to work with Xiaohongshu.
And I'll quickly say there's kind of a separation between brands based on, like, what their priorities are, their marketing priorities. So there's obviously Chinese brands that are only in China that are on Xiaohongshu. But there's also brands, and this is a key one, in the luxury market that focus on China in specific, because China is the biggest consumer of luxury fashion and of luxury goods. So, for example, you have like Louis Vuitton or, Chanel. they don't spend typically in Western markets when it comes to influencers. They'll send them free bags. They'll invite them to events. They will maybe accessible luxury, for example, Coach. They will do partnerships.
Right.
But big brands, they don't. But they do spend in China, and they spend a lot. So on Xiaohongshu, those influencers that are there, they can actually get these monetary opportunities from these luxury fashion brands that if you're only in like U.S. platforms, you can't. Because there's no huge value there, you know? Like there's not as much spending interest, especially among Gen Z in the U.S. It's growing. There is becoming to be some, but Gen Z in China and even like, you know, millennials, because Xiaohongshu is a much more like generationally diverse platform. They're spending money. So there's just different opportunities on each app.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But also circling a little bit back towards you setting up your company.
Yeah.
Before I go more into specifically influencer and the brands, I want to talk about you setting up an LLC. Because I think people would want to know who want to start their business, that what is the process like, and was there something that you wished someone would have told you?
Oh my God, yes. Oh my God. So yeah, you saw me struggle with this. I was setting up my LLC in December, so a couple months ago, and in like last year we were operating as a sole proprietorship under me, and then this year we're LLC. And so I was like trying to figure it out mostly on my own. My co-founder has a fashion athleisure brand as well, so she had some experience, was able to guide me a bit, but she's not an American citizen, so she didn't have that much experience. And essentially, what I ended up doing was thankfully we're in the era where there's so many digital tools, so I used a digital kind of registered agent. So, oh my gosh, okay, I'm trying to break this down. So essentially, to form an LLC, you need to have, obviously, a clear, separation of ownership, and you need to decide which state you want to establish your business in. That's like kind of the key question, because each state has different benefits. Yeah. They have different tax rates. They have different, law, tax requirements based even on the type of business that you are. So, for example, there's like a lot of tech companies I think will usually go to Delaware because that's really tech friendly. Or, people, I think the most common states are Delaware, Wyoming, Nevada, and California. Although California is actually very expensive, the main benefit is the kind of like cluster benefits of California, especially if you're in entertainment or tech, that there's just a really good environment of companies there. And there's also some, it's like it gives you a reputational boost to say you're from California. So we ended up deciding to form our LLC in Wyoming. Super random. I've never even been to Wyoming. Never been there, probably won't ever go. But
well, if it's helping you with tax cuts, might as well.
So yeah, we went through this platform. It's called FirstBase, FirstBase.io, and you can, you have to pay a fee. I think it ended up being around $500. At this point, we had made enough through our agency to be able to pay that, so I didn't have to, spend my own money. Yeah. And then you have to pay for a registered agent in Wyoming or whatever state you choose. And then it's relatively simple once you get started, just setting up, and then you get your EIN, just kind of like your business tax number, you get your certificate, and you're good to go. I'd say the main, more complicated issue is tax season and filing all of your documents, which as I kept getting involved, I kept discovering new things that I had to do. I was like, okay, I'll file my taxes, and then someone was like, oh, by the way, you need to file your 1099s, W-9s in 3 weeks. And I was like, what is that?
It's all going above my head.
I've never heard of that in my life. So then I was like, okay, had to figure that out. Had to get, all my clients to fill out these documents and fill out these tax documents, send it to them, find someone to file my documents, blah, blah, blah. Tax season, had to figure out how to use QuickBooks, never used it before, input all my tax information, stuff like that was the more complicated part. Yeah. And one thing I wish someone had told me, this is more particular to me, but it's something where I'm still like, oh my God, why? Is that if you have a majority owner who is a resident or permanently operates out of a certain state, you actually have to legally register your business there. So I'm from California. Yeah. We filed in Wyoming. I thought it didn't matter, but it does.
It does.
So even though I filed in Wyoming, I'm actually going to have to refile you can file as a foreign entity, which is kind of like, your main registration is in another state, but you are a foreign entity that operates and does business in this other state. Mm-hmm. So we're going to have to file as a foreign entity in California, which unfortunately we still have to pay the same taxes as if we were a normal entity. So there's essentially would have been easier if we had just filed in California. Ignored Wyoming, just filed in California.
Interesting.
It would have been different if, for example, both me and my co-founder were international. Yeah. Then we could file wherever. Or if I lived in Wyoming. But I don't. I live in California, so I'm actually going to have to...
But what happens if you have a subsidiary in Wyoming?
What do you mean?
Like a business unit already in Wyoming. Do you physically have to be there?
Yeah, so that's the purpose of the registered agent. The registered agent, we have to have some business connection to the state. So that's kind of like what First Base helps you with. You pay for this registered agent. They are part of the business that's in Wyoming. Mm-hmm. But because I'm an owner and I live in California, my permanent address is also in California. So not only do I live in LA, but my permanent address is in San Diego.
Yeah.
I have to, and I'm a 50% owner, I have to register in California.
Interesting.
Okay,
that's a pothole.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
It is unfortunate.
But
well, that does bring you back. I mean, if you want to, you could always shift it to California, right?
Well, we'll have to figure that out. I don't know. And as a global agency, we are also considering maybe opening like a business unit in like Hong Kong, for example, in an international location, because there's some certain ways that you can legally manipulate your taxes so that, you have certain funds going to maybe Hong Kong that is tax-free versus some funds going to California, which is heavily taxed. So we're still kind of exploring that. And neither me or my co-founder have tax experience. And like I said, she's not a U.S. citizen, although she did go to university in the U.S. and lived here for 10 years probably. So it's not like she knows nothing. But that's something that is a future task.
Yeah, it is. But that's actually the perfect segue, because I was going to ask, are you planning to expand your team? Like, are you planning on hiring maybe accountants or more so administrative work? Because I think the more clients that you grow a number with, you'd have to delegate some tasks.
Absolutely, yeah. We are actually our 2025 goals. We just actually made our 2025 OKRs last week, and we are planning on expanding our team. We're planning on having a contractor for Chinese work. So having someone help assist with the red note, xiaohongshu kind of work. And then right now we do have 2 interns, and we plan to grow our intern team a bit as well. Although all our interns are under a 6-month contract.
Yeah.
And many of them are even younger than me, obviously. So they're not super, super experienced. So as of now, we'll kind of use that team, at least in 2025, to support us. I think in the future, we'll definitely have to hire a bigger team to support. We're probably going to hire some full-time based in Asia, because we have so many clients there. And then also hire some contractors based in the U.S. in key cities like LA, like New York, where it's just really beneficial to have people going to events, meeting people, stuff like that. So it's kind of our plan right now.
Okay, that's good. I'm very excited, honestly, to see where this goes. But I think since we've spoken about work so much, I do want to touch on what is like leading a business personally, on a personal level. You've been living here, you're about to graduate. How has it been, just personally, apart from business?
Apart from, just my life, apart from R and Talent?
Yeah. How has it been?
It's been good. I mean, there's no separation of my life apart from R and Talent, though. That's the thing.
That's partly why I asked you the question.
You wanted me to say that?
Yes. There is no separation.
Yeah, no, there really isn't. Unfortunately. And also because it's an influencer agency, so it's literally, I can't even doom scroll anymore. I go on social media and I see one of my clients, or I see someone, or I see a brand we've worked with, or I see something and I'm like, oh, I should note that. Oh, I should note that down. Or I wonder what this person's up to. Or I just see something and I'm like, I should note that. There's no moment of stuff. And actually, that was one thing that was that's not the word I'm looking for, but maybe something that discouraged me from starting the business, especially when I was in that period of January to April before founding. I was like, oh my God, if I even get on my phone to look at, like, scroll on TikTok, it's just, like, related to my work. So it's like, you know, and some people, it might be like, oh, that's great, you know, because it's kind of like a slightly, like, unserious, you know, it's not like I'm doing financial analysis.
But still, it's not. There's
but
no
it's not. It's not optimal. No, it's not optimal. And sometimes also, like, I think social media sometimes will just go through, like, negative and positive spirals in terms of, like, how much positivity is being put out and how much negativity is being put out. And I think things like natural disasters or the election or world events, which there's been a lot of recently, can affect how social media makes you feel. Typically in my past, I've been like, okay, I'm going to just take a break. You know, it's too much. It's affecting my mental health. I can't even take a break. No, you know, I like have to go on social media because it's literally what I do. So that's like a bit unfortunate.
But even the unserious part, like, sorry to cut you in, but
no, go.
Even the unserious part, like elections, for example. Yes, it was a global event. Everybody was like sitting in front of their TV seeing what's going to happen. That directly affected your business. For those few, like, I mean, yes, TikTok didn't get banned. We could have.
Yeah.
It would have totally
It did technically get banned for 12 hours.
Exactly. That was...
And that was crazy. I had clients, like, I have one client who's 16, and she is only on TikTok.
Oh.
And she was so stressed out. Like, she was literally going through it. And I was like, I don't even know what to say to you. Like, I didn't even know how to help her because it's like, what am I going to do? I can't unban it, you know? I can't...
Yeah. And you can't even suddenly shift your entire base to be like, oh, 12 hours, let me get on something else.
Exactly.
Because it takes time. Content takes time.
Yeah, exactly. And it was kind of like that little ban was kind of rattling in terms of the creator economy, because I even heard of some agencies that were too swift to take action. They actually dropped TikTok clients. Like, they said, we're not working with you anymore.
Interesting.
Dropped people. But then it didn't get banned.
It didn't get
was
banned.
Like, ooh, maybe you shouldn't have done that. Which is why we were like, okay, we're just going to support you, see what we can do. We'll see how things play out. And luckily they worked out. For now.
Yeah.
So,
but now there's time to prepare for it.
Exactly. Yeah. And even before, like, I'd say maybe a month before, once, I think early January is where I realized, okay, like, this actually is probably, like, highly likely. We started to prepare our clients. Like, we were like, okay, if you're only on TikTok, you need to start posting on Instagram Reels or YouTube Shorts or, like, I don't know, something where you can literally even save what you've already created and just start, like, reposting
It's random, but even YouTube Shorts is picking up.
It is. Yeah.
It is, because I can catch myself to it. So I was never on TikTok, but I still can catch myself watch YouTube Reels, YouTube Shorts, because they're sometimes very different from what you see on TikTok or Instagram. They're more like concert videos, and then you just get into a spiral of what's happening with this one artist.
Right.
Like, it's random, but it happens. So. But it's actually just problematic. Yeah. Also, just I think that's all businesses. They have to take that legal risk of maybe one election or anyone basically changing the rule at any point.
Right.
That's a given. But going more into what you said about your influencers being Asian, is there a specific niche that you have? Like, are they all lifestyle influencers, or what do they basically do? What's the content they make?
I haven't even mentioned this. So we are like a female-founded, female-focused agency. So all of our team is women. All of our clients are women. And
well, that's great. That's me too.
Yeah. So we only work with female clients right now, and it's not necessarily because we think that, like, female influencers are better than male influencers. It's just because it allows us to have a little bit more of a niche. So we work within the lifestyle, fashion, and beauty genre. So beauty also includes, you know, like skincare, hair care, whatever. And so in that sense, we can be very, you know, focused on what's happening in those spaces. So when we're delivering strategies to our clients, we actually know what's going on. We're not trying to watch everything. We're just trying to watch these 3 general genres, which are still pretty broad especially like female influencers. And then also with the brands we work with, you know, we don't have to have a connection with, like, you know, Xbox. You know, we're just working with these 3 genres of brands. And so also when we go and sign new clients, for example, or reach out to new clients, hop on a call with them, it's like we actually are working with brands that are very relevant to them because they are also lifestyle fashion or beauty influencers. And so, yeah, I think that kind of allows us to be more efficient and more attractive to creators and brands, because brands know those are the three we represent. So they can always find someone that would be like of interest to them within our clientele. And I think those are the most interesting for me as a like viewer and user of social media. I'm not really watching anything outside of those genres anyway, so it's like it works out.
It works out. Perfect. Yeah, of course. Lastly, I want to touch upon revenue. Like, how do talent agencies make revenue?
That's a really great question. It varies based on the agency. I think the talent agency like industry is very diverse. You have big players. I think the big three of like talent agencies are UTA, United Talent Agency, CAA, Creative Artists Agency, and WME, which I don't know what it stands for, but something. And so they are like these huge mega agencies. And so they'll have celebrities, athletes, comedians, influencers, podcasters, everyone on their roster, even like chefs, you know, like Gordon Ramsay or something. Like, and so their revenue is going to look very different to a company like ours, where we have 20 influencer clients. So that's the first thing to preface. But for our agency, we make revenue in a couple of different ways, and it's actually an area where we've been exploring a lot recently of figuring out how can we actually not even necessarily maximize our revenue, obviously, yes, but more so make it sustainable, because we're at a point where, you know, we're less than a year old, so we're still trying to make it so that we can guarantee, like, we can live off of what we're making, you know? So, and especially, you know, I'm about to graduate. If I'm doing this full time, I can't be making like $20,000 a year. I need to be making something where I can live. So, we make money, one, from commission. So our influencer like contracts are commission based. So we help our influencers with a variety of things, whether it's like content strategy, and mostly it's just content strategy and like deal management. So that involves like, you know, connecting them with new brands, managing their collaboration deals, whether they're inbound, but also we try to bring them a lot of value and connect them with more brands rather than it just be like, you know, the brands reach out to them, because then it's kind of like we're not necessarily helping them. So we connect our influencers with brands, manage their collaborations, take away the workload from them, because a lot of them, we do have some full-time influencers, but a lot of our influencers are also university students, or they have a job as well, or they're parents. And so they have other things to do. And so we kind of take away the time, and a lot of it's tedious, that they have to dedicate, and exchange get commission, and the commission percentage can vary based on how famous the influencer is, because that will also impact how much pay they're getting. You know, our smallest creator, for example, will get, and she's very small. We kind of took her on, and we were kind of trying to explore like what works, what doesn't. And also brands will want to work with sometimes make micro influencers, so it's good to have a couple that you're working with. But she has about 15,000 on YouTube. She makes about 300 for a deal. And then we have someone like, or we have another creator named who has 1 million on YouTube. She does a dedicated YouTube video, for example, where it's like the whole video is focused on this one brand. Her rates can be like $20,000.
Fair enough.
So obviously, we're going to take a different commission percentage from than we are from which maybe shouldn't have called her out, but anyway,
we can cut it out.
You can cut that out, yeah.
Bleep it out.
Yeah, actually, can cut out both the names. Anyway, anyway, so yeah, that's kind of that aspect of how we make commission, or how we make revenue, and then on the other side, we do like marketing deals with brands. So we operate more as a traditional marketing agency.
Okay.
So this can be, or even a traditional influencer marketing agency rather than a talent management agency. So this can look in be in a variety of different ways. One is that we organize like a mass bulk, we call them like bulk campaigns. So, you know, we have like 50 influencers, not only our creators, but we're also reaching out to others. And we have like a network of kind of like maybe 70-ish influencers of people we've met, people we know, whatever, that aren't signed to us, or even people that were signed to us in the past or we had like interest in signing them, didn't work out for whatever reason, that we can tap into and say like, hey, you want to join this campaign we're running? We can offer you this pay. And then like do these big bold campaigns where we also get a payout for managing them.
Okay. So they're like hosting events basically.
No. So it's just like virtual campaigns.
Oh, they're all virtual.
Yeah, it's all
campaigns.
Virtual, but it's like because the brands don't have expertise with managing campaigns, and it can get kind of complicated to keep track and make sure everyone delivers, especially when you're working with people that aren't directly signed to you. So it's like we would make sure that everyone is getting the necessary information they need, everyone's getting their packages, everyone's creating content, everyone's posting them within the time frame, and we get a payment from that. So that's one element. And then also events actually is something we're starting to branch out into now. We're working with a big Korean skincare company named, actually, I won't say the name because we're still finalizing the contract and just in case. But huge parent company in the beauty industry in South Korea. And we are going to organize some U.S. campus pop-up events for them. And so it's going to be like looking like, okay, we're going to tap into like an influencer ambassador network as well to help drive the campaign. But we're also positioning ourselves as kind of like an agency with a platform, with connections in the U.S., with expertise in the U.S., and because we already have these global brands that we're working with all the time, we're positioning ourselves as, hey, I know you're in South Korea, or I know you're in Vietnam, or I know you're in Germany, but you have a lot of people that, you know, a lot of potential consumers in the U.S. that would really, really, I think, react well to your products, would really love to, you know, purchase your products. But you don't have a strong presence in the U.S. Nobody knows about you, especially within, you know, Gen Z. Like, Gen Z doesn't know about you. So we can help you get there using our influencers, using our network, using our event, services, and now help you kind of become more known within the U.S. market. We even have branding services. Like, we have a contractor who we come on and help us with, like, branding and completely repositioning a company's brand.
Yeah. So it's basically all marketing stuff.
So we're starting to expand more into like just a general marketing agency.
Got it.
But keeping our core focus on the influencers and using that as our credibility, because without them, we're just two girls, you know? Without them, we're just two girls, like, you know, trying to sell up our company. But with the agency, we are already doing things. We already are like connecting with these brands through the influencers, and so that's how we get that initial connection. Our creators deliver, like, you know, viral video, and then we're saying like, okay, now do you want to do this? So that's kind of like how we're exploring, but it's all like been a learning curve. So
it is. But I think that's really good because you mentioned so many things that companies should focus on, things like where you can provide value to someone who's much bigger than you at the end of the day. But I think that's really relevant because I think big companies, not dissing any, but big talent management agencies obviously cannot have a very personalized touch.
Exactly.
You know, because you guys are working individually with these clients.
Exactly.
You guys are that age range also, which I think matters a lot. Because somebody who's 50 trying to get TikTok
like a 50-year-old man. That's another thing, you know, like there was a lot of, especially I think with our global clients. So what you'll find is there's like the U.S. is a hub for talent agencies. There are agencies that exist, but they're all very nationally focused. So it's like, okay, we have our U.S. agency and we work with brands and clients in the U.S. and we have our South Korean agency and our Chinese agency, whatever, German. And there's no agency. There's a couple, but very few. And the ones that exist are pretty exclusive. And there's millions of influencers that will connect people with opportunities globally, and that's what our value offer is, because we're not the right fit for everyone, and we've worked with clients that we've ended up kind of parting ways with, you know, on good terms, because, for example, they want to really focus on the South Korean market. They only want to work with brands there. That's not where we can help them. We can help them work in South Korea and China and the U.S. and Europe, but not just South Korea. So that's kind of the value. And then also that we're like a female agency. We're young. We're not like a 60-year-old, like, also respectfully, white man where, you know, we can't even relate to you at all. So,
Exactly. I think the niche has to be there, and you basically are a consumer at the end of the day. So you can look at it from that eyesight, I think. But that's really good. That kind of brings us to the end of the episode.
Okay.
And before I let you go, I want you to write a catchphrase of your journey.
Okay.
Because we are also planning an event, which would happen soon.
Yes. Very excited. Everyone show up to the event.
Please do. Yes. It's going to be in LA, so I'm really sorry if you cannot show up.
Not in LA.
But yeah, if you're in LA, you have to show up.
Yeah.
But either way, here, I'll just present you this.
Okay. The moment of truth.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Ooh. Let me make sure this is readable. Okay, where do I show this to?
Show it to this camera. And read it out.
My catchphrase is, you are what you make of yourself. I think as an entrepreneur, that resonates with me. Mm-hmm. It resonates with my clients because you can find a community of supporters. You can find a manager to help you get to where you want to be, to become recognized. You have, your family to support you, but at the end of the day, you're the one who is going to be the most instrumental in creating opportunities for yourself. So I always tell my clients, they're like, oh, I want higher pay. I want, this. I want to get here. I want to get invited to the Dior event. I'm like, okay, but is your channel at a place where they would want to invite you? Do you post every day? Do you make the kind of content that people would want to, that Dior would want to see?
Yeah.
Do you have the following? Maybe not. So you need to get there, and then abundance will flow. You are what you make of yourself.
I love that. That is so inspiring. Especially, I think everyone watching this, I'm hoping that we're reaching the target, which is young Gen Z. Like, they should... drive is what drives you at the end of the day.
Yeah.
That's what it does. I love that. That sums up you completely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, thank you.
I love
This has been so much fun. I feel like I haven't gotten to talk about my agency in a professional, safe space like this. So I appreciate you having me on.
Love it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
By Ikea.